Hi friends, it's Pastor Deborah. Just like our last times, we have our candles, so we'll open the way we normally do. And maybe you have a candle at home you can light, and I'll invite you to light one with us. But if not, you remember you can use your finger as your candle light, just like when we sing that song, This Little Light of Mine, you can let your light shine. So your candle can be your light, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and light the candles, and we'll sing our song, okay? I hope you can see them. Hard probably to see them flickering, but they're beautiful and flickering, and they remind me of each of you. All right, so do we remember our song? Are we ready to sing? Ready? Now we sing. Light one candle for love, one bright candle for love. God brings love to every heart. God's here, God's near. Light one candle for joy, one bright candle for joy. God brings joy to every heart. God's here, God's near. Light one candle for peace, one bright candle for peace. God brings peace to everyone. God's here, God's near. Wonderful, thank you, friends. So I hope that you've been able to see also some of Ruth's videos. She's been posting them because she posts some for our church for children's time, and so you can always find those if you want to hear some more stories. She posts them on our Facebook page. And there'll be different kinds of books, but they're all similar to things that we do here. So our story today that I wanted to share is one about forgiveness. And forgiveness is so important in our lives because we always, no matter how old we are, no matter how hard we try, we'll end up doing things wrong or hurting our friends and our family sometimes, right? Yeah, all of us do. I do, everyone. And so forgiveness is important because that's how we help make those things better. So if we get hurt by our friend, then we can talk about it and forgive and make up. Or if our friend hurts us, or if we hurt our friend, so we have that wonderful thing that God has given us that will help us heal each other's hearts when something hurts us. And so I hope that this story helps you understand a little bit more about how amazing and powerful that gift that God gives us is. So this story is about a little girl named Lucy. And Lucy is getting ready for spring to come and getting ready for starting to prepare for Easter. The snow is melting around, and she's starting to see new things pop up outside, like maybe some new leaves coming out and turning green. She's hearing new birds. She's starting to see new animals popping out, and she's starting to see that spring is coming and things are changing. And she gets excited because she knows that when it's Easter, she gets to be with her family. And I know many of us have different times where we gather with our families. And she was excited because she knew her family would be coming. But guess what? Her grandparents came for a surprise early visit. And they came and they knocked on the door, and she said, "Who is it?" And her mom went and opened it. And it was her grandparents, and she was so excited. And they had a gift box for her. And so she was so excited because she realized not only had they come for a surprise visit, they had a present for her. And she couldn't wait to see what they brought her. She gave them hugs and kisses, and they were so excited. And they said, "We wanted to bring this by because it's a very special gift for you. And you needed to have it now. We couldn't wait until Easter time." So she went and quickly pulled it open, and she looked in, and it was just this bowl, like a container bowl, and it just had a bunch of dirt in it, and that was it. And she kept looking, where's the real present? And she was so sad, and then she started to get mad, and she said to her grandparents, I am so mad, this is a horrible gift, why would you give this to me? And she stomped off, and she went and stuck it up to her room, and she just shoved it in her closet. And then she cried, and then she played, and then her mom came up and said, honey, it wasn't very nice for you to be mean to your grandparents. They brought you that nice gift. And she said, it was a terrible gift. It's not nice. I'm mad at them. And her mom finally convinced her to come downstairs to see her grandparents, and they read a story, and then you could see that she was still mad, but she gave them hugs and kisses goodbye, and they said, we'll see you soon. We love you. We hope you love your special surprise, your gift. And as they closed the door, she stomped off and said, some special surprise that is. It's the worst gift ever, just a pile of dirt in a bowl. So she went off and played, and eventually, day after day, she'd forgotten that they even came and gave her a present. And she watched the new flowers bloom outside, and she looked for new birds and new trees and plants, and even started to look and find new little bugs and even butterflies. And she was so excited to see all the new things at spring. And it started to get warm, and she could play outside all day. And then she didn't even realize it, but it was already Easter, and her grandparents came back, and they came in, and they were so excited, and they said, oh, I bet you just love your surprise that we gave you. And she said, what are you talking about? And they said, remember, we brought you that special surprise. Don't you love it? And she said, oh, that, I forgot about that. And they said, well, go get it, let's see it. It's so amazing, and we can't believe that you haven't seen it and how amazing it is. She went to her closet, and she found it, and guess what? It was a beautiful flower. All that time, it had been growing, and then it came up out of the bulb and sprouted green leaves and a long stalk, and then a flower had started to come out. And she couldn't believe that had turned into a beautiful flower, and she came out, and she was so excited, and she said, oh my, look, it's a beautiful flower. I didn't know. And she said, I'm so sorry, Grandma and Grandpa. Will you forgive me? I'm so sorry that I behaved the way I did. And they said, of course we forgive you. We love you so much, and we're so glad that you get to see the surprise now. It's okay, we understand that all of us sometimes get mad or upset or disappointed, and we do forgive you. And they hugged, and they laughed, and they had a great day together. And the little girl, Lucy, always remembered whenever something went wrong, she was able to think back about what her grandparents did, and to remember that they forgave her, and to remember how good it felt, and how her heart felt, and how good it felt when she said sorry, because then they all felt better together. So I hope that for each of us, we'll always remember to say sorry, and that we can forgive each other. And sometimes it can feel really hard because we're very upset. Sometimes it might take time, but God can help us forgive, because that's one of the things God does. God's love, it forgives us and helps us forgive each other so we can get better and heal and feel better. So my friends, I would love it if we could sing some songs together. Would you like to sing some songs with me? Great. So the first song I want to sing is about God holding the world. And especially right now, when we kind of get a little worried about people we love or things that might be going on because we can't go do our normal things, it's so important to remember that the God is watching over us and taking care of us, and that God is helping make things better and helping make people better and helping us all through the whole world to get better. Okay? And helping us be strong and brave Okay? So, if you remember, when we sing this song, we hold the world in our hands the way God would. He's got the whole world in his hands. 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 God's got you and me in his hands. God's got you and me in his hands. God's got you and me in his hands. Got the whole world in his hands. God's got the mommies and the daddies in his hands. Got the mommies and the daddies in his hands. God's got the mommies and the daddies in his hands. Got the whole world in his hands. God's got the nurses and the doctors in his hands. Got the nurses and the doctors in his hands. God's got the nurses and the doctors in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. God's got the little bitty birds in his hands. He's got the little bitty birds in his hands. God's got the little bitty birds in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. I hope that you can sing that song anytime to remember that God is caring for us and watching over us, taking care of us. And you can sing it about anything and everything because God is watching over and taking care of everything in the whole world. And I have another song that I'd like to sing. Are you ready to try that one with me? This one we have sung before. You ready? All right, this one is about how God's love is so big that we can't contain it because God's love is deep and God's love is wide. And sometimes we envision it like a waterfall or a fountain or a river that's just flowing, and it's so deep and so wide that we can't contain it. And that's how God's love is. So remember this one. If you follow along with me, we leave out some of the words sometimes as we're singing it, okay? God's love is deep and wide like a fountain flowing deep and wide. Deep and wide, it's a fountain flowing deep and wide. God's love is and wide like a fountain flowing and wide. God's love is and wide like a fountain flowing and wide. God's love is and like a fountain flowing and God's love is and like a fountain flowing and God's love is and That one's hard, isn't it? All right, now we sing it all again. God's love is deep and wide. It's a fountain flowing deep and wide. Deep and wide like a fountain flowing deep and wide. Thank you so much for singing with me. So now I want to invite you. We're going to finish our candles, and I'm going to invite you to pray with me. Just repeat after me as we pray together. And remember, praying is just talking to God. And some people like to pray by putting their hands together like this. And some people like putting their hands just in their lap. And we like to close our eyes so we can focus and imagine God, okay? All right. Dear God, we thank you for this new day. We thank you for loving us. We thank you for forgiving us. Dear God, please help us love others And please help us forgive others. Dear God, please help us take care of each other. We love you and we thank you. Amen. Thank you. And now we'll sing our closing song. So you might want to have your candle ready, or if you have your candle ready here, we will put them out together. I'm going to blow mine all out. And remember, don't ever let your candle ever go out. Your light always shines with God, right? Always let it shine. Ooh. That one didn't want to go out, did it? Ready? We, now we sing. We lead with a song to take on our way, on our way, on our way. We lead with a song to take on our way, to give to others each day. Thank you so much and have a beautiful week.